I am so excited to welcome all of our participants tonight to hear from our very special guests, JENN FOWLER, LIDIA POMANA, and Nahaya Oday. We are very thankful to have our guest speakers here today for this great opportunity. Before we begin our event, I would like to take a short moment to remind you to stick around after the speeches to hear about our future events. I would also, if you have any questions during the presentations, feel free to type them in the Q&A and we will answer them at the end of all the presentations. Now, Richa can take it away and introduce our first speaker.
Hi, so my name is Richa Narayanan, and I am a panelist director for INTEGIRLS. Just a small introduction about these women in general. So our speakers today are part of a volunteer-led group called Women in STEM at Domino's, or WISDOM for short. WISDOM's mission is to attract, retain, and develop women in STEM careers and is open to all full-time Domino's employees. So this is these women's mission, which is kind of similar to ours, and we're very excited that we have them here today. Starting off with our first speaker of the night is going to be JENN FOWLER. JENN FOWLER is an IT project specialist at Domino's, acting as a liaison between IT and finance to enhance the financial reporting, budgeting, and forecasting cycles for strategic business units. She holds a bachelor's degree in accounting and financial reporting from the University of Michigan, Dearborn. In her spare time, she volunteers with Girls on the Run, a nonprofit organization that empowers girls by encouraging emotional, social, and physical health. Please welcome JENN FOWLER.
Hi, how are you? I'm gonna share my screen. So can you see the screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so as Richa said, we're here through WISDOM. And but first I'm gonna take a few moments to introduce myself and give you some background into how I got into STEM. So I actually grew up in Alabama and graduated high school a long time ago. As I was growing up, in my particular community and family, higher education was not something that people just went out and got. It was not very cost effective and culturally wasn't considered needed or completely necessary. But I decided that it was the path that I wanted to take was to get in higher education. So I did attend several schools part-time as I was financially able to do so, because as you are all aware, I'm sure that it's pretty expensive to go to college. It took a long time, but I was able to earn a bachelor's degree in financial accounting and reporting. And I am super proud to say that I'm the first generation graduate in my family. There's no one else in my family who has gotten any degree whatsoever outside of a high school diploma. So once I graduated from college, I had already completed a few internships at DTE Energy and was hired in full time once I graduated. I was part of the corporate controller's office, which is an accounting and finance function. And although I didn't start out supporting IT from a financial perspective, that's where I spent most of my time. After that, after feeling like I got a really good foundation in financial accounting and reporting, I changed to a different company, a local mom and pop company, as an accountant. And during my time there, I was able to implement an ERP system, establish some accounting internal controls, and was actually able to detect fraud that had been happening in the company for quite some time. And then after about a year there, I got a little bored and really wanted to go back to the corporate arena, get my hands on like more complex issues. With a local mom and pop store, you're working with very small amounts of money but at Domino's, it's a huge global company. So we're talking about millions of dollars instead. So it's a little more complex. I saw that they were hiring for an IT project specialist, doing the budgeting, forecasting, and reporting for a couple of different major projects and major initiatives throughout the company. So I jumped at it and was lucky enough to get hired in. So my work at Domino's is really related to the financial statements at the highest level. So the cost of strategic and operational business units is my main function at Domino's. I also help record revenue for our software development projects because a large portion of our income as a company comes from software development. A lot of people don't realize that Domino's is also an IT company. We sell pizza, yes, for sure, but we also develop a lot of custom development software packages. I also help the company decide whether or not we should invest in capital purchases. It's not as easy as just saying, yeah, we have the money for it. Sometimes we have to develop a business case and determine whether we're going to get a good return on investment with that. And then some of my other functions include understanding whether other investments are necessary, like software as a service, development tools, and also people. Do we have enough funding in our project in order to sustain a team of 10 people or not? And then of course, another function of my job is understanding long-term FP&A, financial planning and analysis. Some of the questions that I answer every year is, how are we going to sunset this business unit? How are we going to make sure that we break even on this investment? One of the projects that I support is a major multi-million-dollar project that spans multiple years. And one of the reasons why we're even engaged in this project is because at some point we're going to be able to get a return on this project. And so one of my job functions is to determine when that might be. Another thing that I get to do pretty routinely is understanding which markets that we might be in as far as our international market is considered, and understanding whether we're profitable, and if we aren't profitable, what things can we do to make us profitable? I think one of the most interesting questions I get probably on a weekly basis is, maybe a director or VPA support will be faced with a decision and they'll come to me and say, hey, what kind of a financial implication will this have on our team, our department, or our company? And these are all like really, really important questions for us to talk through and figure out how we're gonna go forward. So that is, it's pretty removed from the pizza that you might have ordered last night. So how does my work exactly translate to the pizza that you ordered? So one of the projects I support is called Pulse Point of Sale. It is our point of sale software, but it's really beyond a point of sale. It also has back office capabilities, and it's really a resource for all of our franchisees to use to help them run their business, as well as, whenever you call someone in the store to place your order, what they're using to key in your order is the Pulse software. So it's super foundational and it's very important to our business. Another project I support is our next generation sales system, which is currently in development, and it is supposed to take the place of Pulse Point of Sale, but it's also supposed to take the things that Pulse currently does and enhance it so that our franchisees continue to see benefit from using our custom developed software. And then if you happen to be traveling internationally, I also support global online ordering from a financial perspective. So this is the platform that allows you to place an online order and drop it into any of the local Domino's stores as you're traveling internationally. So you're probably thinking, as I would be at this point, is, well, does she really work in STEM? Because it sounds like she's more of a management type of person. And the answer is kind of. I did get my degree in business management. I'm an accountant at heart, and I love that side of my work. But I'm not technically part of the accounting function here at Domino's. I work for IT. My boss is a VP in the IT organization. And I also do other things other than financially oriented activities, like procuring inventory for testing equipment. Right now in particular, we're doing some pilots for our next generation store system. And so sometimes it's interfacing with our franchisees to make sure that they have all of the equipment that they need for our pilots, as well as other smaller projects that impact the organization I'm currently supporting. I would not consider myself a technological guru. When I first started back at DTE Energy supporting an IT organization, I had no idea the difference between hardware and software. So I was like really new to the organization. So I had to get myself up to speed pretty quickly in order to be able to support an IT organization. And even as I left DTE and then came to Domino's, it's been really helpful to have that background, but I learn a lot every day. Even today, I was in a meeting with someone and had no idea what they were talking about, was able to leave the meeting with at least a good understanding of what we needed to accomplish. But there's one thing for certain. I absolutely love working in IT and mostly working at Domino's, because every IT organization I've worked for is always fast-paced and changing, but most importantly, we get lots of free pizza, which is the most important thing. So one of the things I hope that you take from my journey is that even though it was unexpected in a lot of ways, I am super proud of what I've been able to do, because I was able to earn my degree despite a lot of financial obstacles. You know, higher education being frowned upon by a lot of people in my community was a big obstacle, because no one ever wants to disappoint, you know, the people who were, you know, raising them from the very beginning. One thing that I really enjoy is that sometimes I am the only woman in the room. Being in an IT organization, you'll be around a lot of, it just so happens that a lot of people that you're around are male. And so it's really important, the perspectives that women in STEM bring. Just a couple of months ago, I was in a meeting with a VP and we had slightly different perspectives. And I was able to push back on his perspective and bring something different to the table. And it just turns out that we were able to implement a combination of both of our ideas, and it worked out beautifully. And if I hadn't have been there and I had not offered that perspective, then the outcome could have been totally different. And then something else I think is really important is being able to diversify myself from being totally in a niche of corporate accounting to really being able to do both corporate accounting and IT. It was really scary and sometimes really uncomfortable because I don't know what it's like to be a developer. And I don't know a lot of the basic knowledge that that someone who had a degree in IT would have. But it's important that I continue to tell myself that, hey, hang in there, you got this. I know that you can do it. So I think it's really important to just continue to tell yourself that you can do it. And then from here, I'll pass it on to Lydia.
Thank you so much, Jen. That was amazing. And it's actually really amazing that you're a first generation graduate. I think that's really cool. And obviously, I think I can vouch for all the participants that we all love pizza. So it's kind of amazing to see like how the online ordering, how all of that worked. And our next speaker for the night is Lydia Pomana. So Lydia is a director of data science and artificial intelligence at Domino's, leading a team that develops machine learning solutions to improve store operations and the delivery experience for customers and employees. She is a huge advocate of leveraging data to make better business decisions and has held positions across a variety of industries that have allowed her to translate complex statistical learnings into actionable insights. She holds a master's degree in applied statistics and a bachelor's degree in statistics and in Spanish, both from the University of Michigan. She's also a co-founder of Wisdom, Women in STEM at Dearborn. Please welcome Lydia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that really nice introduction. I am thrilled to be here today. I am here as part of Wisdom. Wisdom, like you heard at the beginning, is an organization at Domino's that's really focused on attracting, retaining, and promoting women in STEM roles at Domino's. But one of the big things that we also do is, you know, like Jen said, sometimes you are the only woman in the room when you are in a STEM role. So we're trying to change that. And we do that by reaching out to students like yourself to get them, you know, first interested in STEM and just to kind of let them know of the, you know, vast opportunities that exist out there in STEM careers. So I am really thrilled to be here. So today, I want to focus, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and specifically how I arrived where I am today in my current role. And I can tell you, as you'll see, it was definitely not a focused journey. It was anything but. So maybe start at the very beginning. I grew up in Olsztyn in Poland. It is a gorgeous city in the northeast part of Poland, in a region that's called the Land of a Thousand Lakes, because there's literally thousands of lakes, both in the city and in the region around. And it's a fantastic place to live, but I'm sure many of you have not heard about it. But I hope that you have heard about this guy. And that's Copernicus, you know, the Renaissance era mathematician, astronomer. He came up with a heliocentric model that, you know, told us that planets rotate around the sun, not around the Earth like people previously thought. And I'm mentioning this because he actually lived in the castle in Olsztyn for many years, and that's actually that red building below his picture. Is the castle. So that's just one historical tidbit about the city. There's lots because the city is over 1,000 years old, so lots of history. But outside from, you know, the lakes and the history, one thing that's really ubiquitous in Olsztyn and actually many cities around Poland is language schools. You know, learning a foreign language growing up in Europe is almost a given. Most people learn English, not just in Poland, but everywhere else. So kind of growing up, you know, my parents really early realized that, education is important, and invested in both me and my brother kind of learning English early on. So they enrolled us in language classes. I mean, I was signed up before I even started first grade. I also later on wanted to learn another language because, English isn't even a foreign language anymore almost when everybody else speaks it. So I wanted to learn German. Germany is right next door to Poland. German is also spoken in Austria and Switzerland. I thought it would be a good language to know. And I realized with time that, I'm really enjoying learning languages and they come to me relatively easy. So I wanted to learn another one, a language that has broader reach than, Polish or German. So I decided to take on Spanish. Obviously, Spanish, spoken in Spain, in all of the Americas. I thought it was, a good language to know. So before I got to high school, learning foreign languages was one of my kind of main extracurriculars. But so when I got to high school, I graduated high school in 2003. That's even before Jen, and she said that was a long time ago. So the way high school kind of works in Poland, I never went to high school in the US, so I'm not sure how it works here. But the way it works in Poland, when you get to high school, you have to pick a field of study. And I chose math and economics. Some of the other fields were biology and chemistry. That's typically chosen by people who know they want to go maybe into medicine later on or something like that. There is history. Physics was one of the fields of studies. None of those really appealed to me. So I kind of chose the math econ field because, well, mostly because the other ones didn't really appeal to me and I had to pick something. It's not like I was even, particularly good at math or particularly enjoyed math. But, I thought it was a good choice. Math is the queen of all sciences, as they say. I thought it would be a good foundation for whatever I decided to do later on. So I graduated in 2003, and of course it was time to go to college. And I applied to a really good and a really selective university, and I didn't get in. I was waitlisted and never made it off the wait list because it was such an in-demand school that, the people that got in just stay there. It didn't free up the spots for people on the wait list. So that crushed me a little bit. But I also applied to a university in my hometown. Olsztyn is a really big city and it has a really large university as well. So I started college in Olsztyn, and my first year being there, I kind of realized, college is the time to leave your comfort zone. I was, in the same town that I went to high school in. I just felt like I needed to get out. So I set my eyes on another really selective and really good school, the University of Michigan, because if you're gonna leave home and go somewhere, you gotta go big. So I chose U of M because it was in a country that I kind of knew I had visited many times before. My grandparents live here in Michigan, so if I went, I wouldn't be completely alone in a new place. So I applied, I got in, and I went. And I know that sounds really easy, but it's not. It was actually a really hard decision for many reasons. First of all, it's a huge financial burden for my parents. College in Poland is free. It's like college. Secondary education is free. Obviously, college in the U.S. is not free. Aside from that, I would have to have a place to live. I would have to eat, right? So lots of considerations. And also leaving, I would have to leave my family, my friends. So it was not an easy decision, but I decided, and of course, my parents who would bear the financial burden decided that this was a worthwhile financial investment. And so I transferred to U of M. And I know I was going to talk about my kind of journey in STEM, not just my travels around the world. So I want to tell you kind of about, what I studied in college. And so when I first got to U of M, what I was studying in Poland was international relations or international studies. With the languages that I knew, I thought maybe I could, in the future, be a diplomat or something like that, where I could make use of my languages. When I got to U of M, it turns out that's not an available major. The closest one was political science, which wasn't really kind of what I was interested in. So, well, I couldn't major in international studies. So I thought, what else would be interesting? I thought, maybe understanding global economies, I could kind of still pursue that path. So I thought economics, I was not math econ field of study in high school. It seemed like, I could maybe try give that a shot. And I gave it a shot. The intro econ classes were fine, the supply and demand curves, that's something I get. But when I got to the 400 level classes, the really advanced classes, that's kind of where, it was way more sophisticated than just the supply and demand. And it was something that I dreaded going to class. I did not enjoy it at all. And, I was generally a good student up to this point, but I was not doing great in all these econ classes. So I made the decision that I was going to withdraw from the class. And, typically they tell you to not make decisions based on emotions. And it was certainly not an emotional decision, but when I dropped that class, I felt such huge relief. It felt so good that I knew that it was the right decision to have made. But of course, that still left me kind of wondering, well, what do I do now? So, maybe if I can offer you one piece of wisdom that came from that experience for me is, use the facts and your gut to make decisions. If your gut is telling you this is not the right thing to do, or this is a great thing to do, listen to it. But so, I had taken some of these econ classes, and econ classes were a prerequisite for the business school. Michigan has a business school. I thought, maybe I could get into business school, and that could be what I pursue. So there was, aside from economics, there were some other classes that you had to take to even try to apply to the business school. And one of them was accounting. And, all the amortization, depreciation, all those things, it just was not what I was it just sounded, I didn't get it. I simply just didn't get it. And it was the only class, accounting was the only class I took pass fail in college, because I was genuinely worried that I was going to fail it and, have that drop my GPA. Luckily, I passed, but I realized that if business school is more of this, then it's probably not a right fit for me. So, obviously this whole time I was taking other classes as well. To graduate college, you need credits from humanities and quantitative reasoning and all these different classes. So I was taking those, but, it was time to commit to a major, and, I tried different things and nothing was kind of sounding like something I want to do long term. But, this whole time I was also taking classes in Spanish, because that was part of my foreign language requirements in college. And I already knew Spanish too, because I had learned it earlier. So I thought, you know what, I'll just major in Spanish. I've got some credits already. And, it's something I enjoy. And also committing to Spanish as my major would give me the opportunity to go study abroad. So I know I just walked you through a couple of, majors that I tried, but I felt like I wasn't doing so great in Michigan. I had good grades, aside from the classes, of course, that I just shared with you. I thought maybe I need to kind of go back to Europe, to a place that's more familiar to me. So I applied to study abroad in Spain. I got in. I got some financial aid to help me, support myself there. Because when I was in Michigan, I was working part-time. In Spain, it's not common for college students to work. And also, I knew Spanish, but I didn't know the Spanish that they speak in Spain. Didn't think I could get a job. So I made sure to apply for some scholarships and grants to help me, support myself in college there. So just another nugget of wisdom is, if you have the opportunity to go study abroad, please do it. It was a great experience. I learned so much. Of course, I learned the language. It really expands your horizons. It was a fantastic experience. And after my year in Spain was up, I came back to Michigan, and I had the realization that speaking Spanish is great. Knowing the culture, the history, fantastic. But I could not see a future in myself with a degree in Spanish literature. I was thinking, am I going to be a translator? Am I going to stay in academia? None of those really sounded like something I would do long term. And I still needed to get some college credits to graduate. So I was, I had 1 year left. I was thinking, what am I going to do? And, I had taken some classes in statistics. That was part of my kind of quantitative reasoning requirements. So I was like, you know what? Statistics sounds great. I kind of always understood it. It would give me a very robust, broad foundation for whatever it is I wanted to do later on, because statistics is used in so many fields, right? Automotive, medicine, social sciences, anywhere. So I was like, yes, I'll do that. So my entire senior year and the summer prior to that, I spent taking math and statistics courses. And it was tough. All I did was stats all the time. But I did it. I finished the major. I got all the credits needed. Ended up graduating with a bachelor's in Spanish and in statistics. And, halfway through my senior year, I was realizing that I am learning so much, so fast. I was learning a little bit about a lot of things. I feel like it wasn't deep enough to actually go and get a job with that anywhere. I didn't feel like I knew enough. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to apply to grad school. So I applied at Michigan and I got in. And 2 years later, I graduated with my master's in applied statistics. So I know that was a lot. And, I think for me, the takeaway is, if you look at this slide I have here, there are some people out here in this world who, they know what they want to do. They know kind of what they're good at, what they're passionate about. If you're one of those people, follow that path. For many of us, it looks like what I described, or like what this squiggly line here shows, or we'll try a lot of different things before we know what we're really good at and what we really enjoy. And, I think that's fine. I think that's totally fine. So just last few thoughts I wanted to share with you. My degree in statistics has allowed me to hold many different jobs in many different fields. I started working for a healthcare company, just doing modeling with people's healthcare data. I later moved to New York to work in marketing consulting, working with, all sorts of different clients, trying to help them identify who to market their products to. I then worked for a startup, measuring how effective are online ads for different brands. And then I found myself back in Michigan at Domino's. Domino's has a ton of data. When you think about how you place a Domino's order, we know kind of what you purchased, when you purchased it. We know all the information about how long it took to make that order, to deliver it to you. And the data that we don't have, well, we buy additional data to augment our own data. There's just a ton of information, in the pizza world. So what my degree has allowed me to do is kind of go from data to ta-da. it's allowed me to kind of translate the really complex concepts into actionable insights to help businesses make smarter business decisions. And just kind of to make it more tangible, I want to show you an ad for our Domino's initiative. And then I'll just like briefly wrap up by telling you how my team and my job is tied to that. So take a look at this.
At Domino's, we love pizza as much as you do. That's why we're giving you Piece of the Pie rewards points for eating any pizza from anywhere.
Pizza from here?
Yep,
How about from here?
that's right.
Homemade pizza?
I guess.
Homemade pizza?
That's a little better.
New York style.
Ah, deep dish.
Any pizza.
Download the Domino's app, scan any pizza, and you could earn 10 Piece of the Pie rewards points toward free Domino's. That means double points when you scan medium 2-topping Domino's pizzas, just $5.99 each when you order 2 or more.
At Domino's, we...
So, my role here at Domino's is the Director of Data Science and AI. And that was an ad for one of the initiatives that we rolled out not too long ago. What you saw was, you hold up your phone over a pizza and the algorithm scans to see what it, is it actually a pizza? And if it is, you as the customer can get points towards a free pizza. So that scanning algorithm was developed by my team and kind of, enable our customers to get a free pizza. I thought that was, pretty cool. You get to see the results of your work on national television. So now I just want to wrap up with a quote. If we have data, let's look at data. If all we have are opinions, let's go with mine. I really like this quote because I think, in a world where we have so much data, it would just be foolish to rely on opinions to make decisions. And I am certain that a background in STEM will allow you to make sure that decisions that you make are data driven. So that's all I had for you today. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm going to now pass it over to Nahaya.
Thank you, Lydia. Your speech was amazing. I've always wanted to travel. I'm a little jealous. You've been to so many places and oh my God, it all looks so beautiful from the pictures. It was really cool to see how your thing of data became this really popular thing. I know some of people who did use the Domino's free points, took a picture of their pizza. I do know some people. I thought that was really awesome. So our next speaker for the night is Nahaya Oday, who is on the digital experience team at Domino's. She partners with Domino's technology teams to launch new features on web and apps. Her role involves collaborating with internal and external stakeholders using data-driven consumer insights to create innovative customer experiences. Nahaya previously was on the A/B testing team where she was responsible for developing and executing tests on a regular basis. She has a bachelor's degree in marketing and pursued continued education in web development and project management. Please welcome Nahaya.
Hello, hi guys. Thanks so much for having us today. Can I go ahead and pull this up for us? 1 moment. So just a little bit about me. My name is Nahaya. I am the youngest of 6 kids, as my mom fondly refers to us, her 6 ducklings. So that is me, number 6. And my name literally means the end. So just for people who really have their decisions planned out, my parents were those folks. So kind of some of my background that was already mentioned, but I pursued a bachelor's degree at Eastern Michigan. I actually started from a very strong science background. So even through high school and undergrad, I probably took all of the sciences up to Physics 2 and Orgo 2. I think those were the 2 pre-med prerequisites I was missing, but I decided at some point that, maybe I really wanted to support more of the digital business side of things because there was still that science part. But I ended up getting my bachelor's degree in marketing. Later on, I decided that through the work that I've done with Domino's, I still had a very strong interest now in web development and information systems project management, so how we all work together. So that's something that I've continued to do education on the side through night courses, online courses, and then also when I can find time, continuing to pursue that master's degree that I started on a little bit ago. And Domino's, I've been at Domino's for 5 years. I've been on 3 different teams. I've really found my niche in the Domino's technology and the innovation teams. So that's really where I've been for the past 3 years. And yeah, I'm having a really great time with all the different things that we do. So like I mentioned, I'm on the innovation team. What exactly is that? We work with a lot of our different partners, like, you know, our A&I team, our technology teams, and our agencies, so our advertising partners. And we work collaboratively to release new features or optimize existing experiences. And what I do is sometimes manage like the actual implementation across web and the apps, so that it's a consistent experience and how this is going to look and what the experience is going to be. And we really have to work closely with all of our partners and collaborative effort so that it is a seamless process. So I may not be doing the coding, but I need to understand a little bit of why we're doing things the way that we are, right? So that we can all contribute to making it the best project possible. And what I really like about Domino's is we all kind of wear several hats. Our different teams don't really work in silos where, hey, you're responsible for all this and you're responsible for this. Like Domino's has really allowed me to explore different sides of the business that are maybe not traditionally the marketing person's role, right? So I kind of get to do some of the analytics. I get to do some of the technical design or have a voice in that. And that's what I really love about working on a Domino's team. It's been wonderful. And really what we do is we utilize analytics and learnings and consumer insights to make sure that we are continuing to optimize our experiences. You know, just because we found a good experience or the way that something is good for a certain amount of time doesn't mean that we are going to be happy with that 5 months from now. We always want to keep changing and moving as fast as the technology does. And just something that, you know, I kind of was thinking to myself is the process that we do is very similar to the process that will apply to many sciences, right? Like this here on the left-hand side is the design process. It's very similar to the engineering design process or even a science experiment process. And it all really starts with asking why. Why are we doing this? Why are we trying to solve a problem? What is the problem? So really being curious, and the processes amongst different studies are actually, it's not that different, right? It just applies slightly differently depending on what you're actually changing. So it's not too different across from tech or med or, you know, some of the more business types of sciences. And just to kind of put it into perspective of some of the projects that we've worked on, this was actually a test that we had changed the homepage and we added a landing page and it actually, and we did that through a different A/B test. So we tested one version, the existing version, against the new one, which is right here. And through measurement of that test analysis, we found that, you know, this new experience was a major winner, right? And it improved the experience for our customers. It improved the experience from a UX perspective. So there's just so many learnings and benefits that we could glean from really diving deep into the insights there. Another one is GPS delivery tracking. This had so many teams and different cross-functional folks working on it. Our analytics team, our advertising team, our IS teams, of course. So there was a lot of folks working on this feature. And really it's to solve that question of, hey, where's my driver? So again, you're starting with that question of, what am I trying to solve for? What am I trying to improve? So that was a really great feature that we introduced. Another one that we did was dinner bell. So we kind of thought of the old fashioned dinner bell, like, you know, dinner's ready, come get it. So we incorporated that into an actual technology platform where someone ordering a pizza could, you know, send out a alert that, hey, dinner's coming. And then everybody would receive a message on their phone saying like, hey, your pizza's about to be here, come on home. So it's just really kind of modernizing the way that we communicate across teams or across, you know, individuals. So, and then why STEM? So I think you're probably seeing why is there a bird with a message? But that's just something about that I find exciting about technology, is just how much and how fast we've changed. You know, at one point we were sending messages to each other on pigeons. And now I can send a text within a couple seconds to someone across the world. And I just find that so exciting, and I love to be a part of it. And like I mentioned before about asking questions, I think I knew I wanted to do something tech related and in the science area because I'm always very curious about things and wanting to ask questions and understand why things are the way they are, or how can we make them better. And then another part that really interests me is being able to solve a problem, right? Like it feels like you have this thing you want to improve or this problem you want to solve, and how do I make it better for people? So again, whether that's technology or medicine, that still applies to so many different areas of STEM. Another one is innovative tech is all about creativity. I know sometimes we think about tech and it might not seem like the most creative thing. Like you have your set way of doing things, but it really does allow for a lot of creativity. I don't think we ever go into a problem saying, hey, yes, we know what the answer is going to be. We come to it from experimentation. We come through it through what we find from our tests that we develop. It's never like, I know what the answer is. So it is really coming up with creative ways to approach a problem. And also, I really like just working with such a diverse group at Domino's, because everybody brings their unique perspectives and unique backgrounds. And you really learn a lot from each other that helps you grow and learn something new every day. And that's something here that I really want to highlight, because I don't think I probably would have gone down the web development for, you know, continuing to learn that if I hadn't been exposed to seeing what they do on a daily basis, what our developers do, what our, you know, our platform developers do, and how our technology really relies on that. I think being exposed to the different teams really helped me see that, hey, I want to pursue this further. So just like to be along the ride of tech moving forward and waiting for that next big thing and being a part of discovering that next big thing. And then I'm gonna go over like one of my favorite quotes. But every day, this is something I probably say to myself every day, is don't let your failures discourage you, right? I think sometimes we call things losers if something doesn't go as planned, but I always try to think of it as a learning instead. Like, okay, well, at least I know that this way doesn't work. What should I do differently to try and make something work? If it's something I'm passionate about and I want to continue pursuing, trying to give it a fighting chance and maybe rethinking your approach. And one thing that I think is super important is be comfortable. with asking questions. You are never going to be the expert when you start something new, right? I want to share a couple pictures of my nephew, because when he first started to crawl, he would do this like fishy thing where he would put his hands and his feet up in the air. And eventually like he learned like, hey, you know, I'm not moving if I have both my hands and my feet up in the air. So then he started to, you know, push his toes and realize like, hey, okay, I just need to approach it differently. I need to try something new. And I know that's very basic, but it applies to everybody going forward. You're going to start something new and it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be, you might feel like a fish out of water, but it might just be your approach to learning it and really feeling out like, is this something I'm passionate about? And I can just readjust how I try to learn this. So don't be afraid to ask questions or feel like the odd person out, because everyone has a starting point, and that's something to really embrace, because when you look back at it, you're like, wow, I really have learned a lot over this journey that I've been on. So, and that is all that I have.
Thank you so much, Nahaya. We learned a lot from your presentation today. I have to say personally, I love the GPS tracking system. I mean, we use it every time we order Domino's. I mean, my mom works at Domino's, so she gets the coupons and we're all around the computer seeing, oh, when is it gonna arrive? And just in general, I think it's so amazing how you guys come up with these innovative ideas, because no one has come up with, oh, let's see who's gonna put it in the oven, and you get to actually see the name of who's making your pizza. When it comes to taking the picture, like these are such innovative and amazing ideas, and it's so amazing or so insightful, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I love the creative part of it. Like, I don't think tech is typically seen as creative, but there's so much of just sharing ideas and working with each other and trying to make like the best solution possible. So I love that part of it.
Definitely. This
Yeah,
was
I
such
definitely agree with Risha. Yeah, this was really insightful, this entire thing. I really enjoyed it. Thank you all so much again. So, Risha, do you have any points to add before we move on to the Q&A?
No, I don't.
All right. I can start with the first question. It's to Jen. One attendee has said, I also find myself stuck between my interest in STEM and finance. What advice would you give to someone like me throughout college to hopefully combine both subjects in their career like you did?
I think the one thing that I would suggest is taking coursework in both areas. It doesn't hurt to take an extra finance course or to take an extra IT course. In my particular position, I'm, working with people who run entire departments and manage millions of dollars. My direct supervisor, she manages like $40 million a year in financials. And so there's a reason why I'm there to help her. And it's because she has a certain focus, and I bring other qualities to the table to kind of help her in managing her decisions. And so, no matter, I guess the point is, no matter where you're going to be, you're always going to need some financial background. So whether you decide to become a program leader one day, managing your own portfolio, or you're a technical delivery manager, the financial aspect is always going to touch your work. And so it'll always be important to have a good foundation in a lot of different areas. And I would suggest finance as being one of those.
Yeah, I have a general question. So someone asked, how do you apply for a Domino's job? It seems really cool. And I agree with them.
So if you're looking for a job at the Domino's World Headquarters, so a corporate job, just go to jobs.domino's.com. We are always hiring. We are, growing our teams. So check it out. Aside from full-time jobs, we also have summer internships. So, maybe that's up your alley as well. So jobs.dominoes.com.
And then another general question, how did you guys know you wanted to pursue a career in STEM and not somewhere else?
So I think I'm going to start by, I guess, saying that I'd never really made that conscious decision, like I want to do STEM. I think through my own personal discovery and what my interests were, I ended up there because I was kind of feeling out like, oh, I really do like the kind of experimenting side of things. I really like having, setting up a test and being able to optimize things. So I don't know if I knew that back in high school, to be honest. I know I liked sciences, I liked math, but I also liked a lot of the creative stuff too. So I think kind of to Jenn's point, like kind of feeling out what you are gravitating towards, and there's always the opportunity to continue education and kind of branch out. So I don't always think that it's something that you have to have a firm decision about day one. But it's really about exploring like what feels right and what you're passionate about.
I would like to add, I think that, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's about understanding your passions. And, one thing that I've always taken with me is that as long as I love what I'm doing, then I'll never work a day in my life. And so, like, the minute I wake up in the morning, if I'm not super excited to go to work and like just bring all of my energy to the day, then I know I've made a choice that's not right for me. And so it's super important to explore all of your interests. And if that means, leaving your major in your, junior year, I think like Lydia said, she was almost finished and then she switched gears, then you know what, at the end of the day, it's going to make you a much happier, well-rounded person. And so that's the choice that might be right for you.
Our next question is a general question. Even if you love being the only female in the room, how do you gain confidence when no one's the same gender as you?
I can try to take this one. So just maybe for a little bit of reference. So I lead a team. It's 15 of us. Aside, it has been me and then 14 guys for a very long time until last year, another woman finally joined the team. I don't know if I have any words of advice on how to gain confidence like in the room full of men. I think it can be intimidating because certainly I sometimes feel I don't know if I'm voicing my opinion or will be perceived as like the voice of the women, which not necessarily, it's not always necessarily the opinion I'm voicing. I'm just voicing my opinion, not trying to represent half the population. But I think like you are in this, I'm in my current role. Obviously, you will be in all these positions that you are totally deserving of and worthy of, and you got there because you were the best person for the job. So I think if you just believe that, somebody else believed in you and put you in that position. So I think as long as you kind of remember that, I think that might help. At least it's what helps me.
Totally agree with Lydia too. Like I think that when I'm in the rooms, contributing to conversations, I'm not there just because I'm a woman. I'm there because of my expertise. I'm there because people feel that they can rely on me to provide a specific insight and to contribute to that conversation. So it's really showcasing that, hey, yes, I am a woman and I'm also awesome at what I do.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that they just said. I think if you are struggling with confidence, check out Brene Brown's TED Talk, The Power of Vulnerability. She's amazing. And I can tell you in the times that I've lacked confidence, if I listen to her speak, it's like earth-shattering, and I feel so much better about my, whatever situation I might be in. But confidence is definitely something you need to have, whether you're male or female, or something in between. And so it's something that even in middle school and high school that you can continue to work on and develop, so that one day when you are in your career, you you don't have a problem with showing that you're worth it and you should be there. And like Lydia and Nahaya said, you were there, you were chosen to be there for a reason.
Okay, so unfortunately, we're already over time, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I will ask one more question directed towards Nahaya, which is, you mentioned that at Domino's, you were able to work in multiple areas where not all of them are strictly marketing. So what do you think is the greatest thing you learned from being able to diversify, and what's the greatest advantage? I feel like the others can help answer this too.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, kind of what my job role was is, I was working a little bit with the strategy and insights team, a little bit with the A/B testing, and a little bit with the development team, right? So I got some exposure to these different teams because that's just the way we work at Domino's. Like I said, we wear so many different hats, even just beyond our designated role. So I think the way that I was able to do that is in my role that I started out in A/B testing is I got introduced to working with so many different teams. And, when another opportunity came up, my boss was like, hey, you would be great for this. You're going to need to learn a couple more responsibilities, but you already got a good basis and you've kind of been exposed to all these different teams. So I learned and I grew, and there were so many new things in that next role, but I was already kind of experiencing some of it. And I think that's really boils down to how we work at Domino's and how you get a little bit of experience while you're doing a specific job.
I think also to add to what you've said, the pizza business is super complicated. It's not just making a pizza and delivering it. It's being able to peel away layers to understand the complexities that our industry is facing. And so being on a cross-functional team or being able to support multiple groups is eye-opening, because there are lots of things I would have never learned if I had just stuck with my my one original team.
So just a general question, would you mind staying a little bit longer to answer the last couple of questions?
Yeah, I'm happy to stay.
All right, so there were quite a few questions directed towards Lydia. One of them being, what was your favorite part of studying abroad, and how does your Spanish experience in Spanish help you at work today?
Well, there was studying abroad was, it was a great experience overall. You get to go to a new place, just see it as, kind of as a tourist. You get to try the foods that are there. I got to learn the language. Obviously, that was a huge perk. I think I learned more in that 1 year than I did, in any of the previous years combined. It was very hard to just give one succinct answer of what was the favorite part. There's just a lot learning about the culture and also learning about myself, like realizing I am, I can do this independently. I can go to a totally foreign country and have a good time and survive and learn. But to answer the second question about how Spanish helps me at my current job, sadly, I don't use Spanish in my job. We are a global company, but I feel like English is the language that we use. And all of our international franchisees, our international business partners, they speak English. So I don't have a chance to use Spanish at work, but it's come in handy for, just my personal travels. When I went to Peru, to Mexico, it was great to be able to speak in Spanish and not kind of like, be the tourist who couldn't even, get a few words memorized in Spanish. So that was great.
So one more general question towards all of you. What would be your most important piece of advice to all of the students in attending this session today?
I'd say give yourself time to explore different areas that you want to try out. And I know I already mentioned this when I was talking about it, but there's so many times I was in a course that I was like, oh, this is difficult. Well, yes, it's going to be difficult because I'm just starting it. It's something completely new to me. Try and just rethink your approach to the material. You might still end up finding that, okay, this is definitely not for me. There's no need to keep grinding against that if it's something you're not really passionate about and it's just not working out. But really try to, it's not always you, it could just be, I need to kind of work out how I approach something. And that there's always an opportunity to continue learning, right? Especially your first year at college, you take a lot of intro classes and kind of get a feel for the broader sense of fields. Like, I don't know if anybody's like, okay, I'm going to college and this is what I'm going to be. I'm graduating in 3.5 years. Some people might, but there's a lot of people who had much different journeys, and you end up working with them and you find out about their experiences. And it's definitely not a straight line, like Lydia definitely mentioned during her presentation. So.
I don't know what other words of wisdom I can offer besides what Nahaya just said. I mean, that was really relatable, to my experience. But maybe something else to think about. I mentioned earlier, when you are making a decision, obviously consider all the facts, the pros and cons, what major or what classes you want to take, but also factor in your emotions. We're all just human beings, if something just feels great, well, maybe that's the right thing. And if something just fills you with dread and you think, oh, like that class again tomorrow and the day after, if it's, then maybe, maybe that isn't the right fit for you. So I guess my little nugget of wisdom is use both facts and emotion to make these decisions.
When I was beginning my college career, I was really, really scared of choosing one thing or maybe one or two things. And it was really difficult for me to say, okay, I really want to be a teacher, or no, this week I really want to be an engineer. And those were actually majors I had at one point because I switched my major a lot as well. And I just so happened to take an accounting class and I totally fell in love with it. So I think it's really important for you to approach college and knowing that like you're not going to be pigeonholed into one thing. You can do a lot of different things. You can take lots of different classes. And even if you get a career in finance or in statistics or marketing, you can do a lot of different things with any of those degrees that aren't necessarily pigeonholed to that one function. And I think that all three of us are really evidence of that. So hopefully that makes your decision as you enter college and maybe even midway through, it makes your decision a little easier knowing that there are always opportunities to diversify yourself if you're open to them.
That's a really good point, Jen. I know we all just chimed in on it, but I mean, the way that careers are now, it's changed so much over the past 20, 30 years. Like a marketer is no longer just a marketer. Like I was thinking, okay, marketing, I'm going to make ads. I'm going to be, coming up with campaigns. That is not at all what I do. It was much more tech related than I thought, and I loved it. I embraced it. So really try and do some kind of like job fairs and explore, because there's a lot beneath the surface of a job title or what industries were typically thought of, 10, 20 years ago.
And I guess one thing also to keep in mind is when you do start working, you'll be working for like 40 years, if not more. So that's a lot of time. And you probably will have to do different things over that, the span of decades. So always kind of just leave that window open for, maybe just trying something else or taking a different direction.
I feel like that was a good question to wrap up on. So again, unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. I don't want to run over too much and take up our attendees and panelists' time. So thank you so much to all of our guest speakers for all of their helpful information. And thank you to all of the students attending the seminar today and asking so many good questions. So I'm just
Thanks so much for having me, or
yeah,
us.
of course. I'm just going to do a shameless little plug of INTEGIRLS here. So throughout the years, the INTEGIRLS Detroit hosts a variety of different contests and informational seminars. One of our upcoming events includes a fall math competition for middle school and high school students and female and non-binary students. So you can check out our website for more information. And I put a link to the website and a Google form in our chat. So yeah, I'll ask for the picture in a second. But subscribe to our mailing list too to get regular updates. And yeah, so the short feedback link is just a couple of questions about the webinar today. So I just wanted to ask our panelists real quick if you would mind just smiling for a quick picture. Thank you so much, everyone, today.